Hey everyone, we're about to get started here. Thank you so much for being patient with us. All right. Okay, we are live. Hi everyone, this is Lydia Joy and I'm here with Gray. We are so excited to be joining y'all today and we're grateful to have you stopping by and hanging out with us. Thanks for being patient too. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, even though we were like 15 minutes ahead of time, right? So Gray has some cool news he wanted to share with you guys. So go ahead, Gray.
Yeah, thanks. So, well, it's a big day at the Graham family because last night my wife passed her final exam to become an NTC. And so it was a big moment. I have so much more empathy now for all of the husbands and spouses in general and family members of people that are going through the program because, you know, they get ignored for, you know, 9 months. I wasn't getting my normal kind of attention that I need. My normal care and feeding. You know, she still is very attentive, but you know, it just reminded me what a huge thing it is to become an NTP or an NTC. And that's kind of a cute story, really, because all these years, my wife was there from the very beginning. Obviously, you know, we founded NTA together, and you know, she supported me through all the early days of, you know, poverty and, you know, 70-hour weeks and stuff like that. But she never really became an NTP herself or an NTC. And people ask her, say, well, you ever think about becoming an NTP? And her response was, "Oh, hell no! I'm married to Gray. That's get as much of, you know, nutrition as anybody could possibly want, you know." But the last year she wasn't able to make the conference because right at the beginning of the conference she got a terrible flu and couldn't come down. And so she spent the whole weekend looking at all of the wonderful photos and the wonderful comments on the NTA conference app. And she just thought, gosh, she just felt so disconnected. She didn't feel like she was part of the tribe, partly because she wasn't there, but partly because she wasn't, you know, a nutritional therapist. So when I came home, she announced that she was taking the NTC class and, you know, she was going to take her very good friend, Ann Fisher, who was the very first, you know, instructor other than myself for the NTP program. And so it's been a real journey, you know, real good experience for me to actually be in a household with somebody who's, you know, making the effort to do this wonderful thing that we all love so much. You know, it's one thing doing it ourselves, you know, going through it, but to watch somebody that we, you know, our partner, somebody we love go through it also, it's cool. So anyway, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, totally. Congratulations, Joy. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm proud of her.
Yeah. So I just want to say real quick, if you guys are jumping on live, feel free to say hi, you know, comment. We are going to save some space at the end if you have any questions for us. So we'll answer those then. But I wanted to introduce like kind of the premise behind this whole live is that, you know, in light of the conference this year being more of a mind-body shift of content and speakers and what Nancy and I have been working on all year with the Balance and Thrive program that started out as Ignite. You know, I just reached out to Gray to ask him for his feedback and support, and he so graciously, you know, just said, "Hey, I'll jump in and share." So, so we appreciate you for that. We want to talk a little bit about some of the big things that we see as a struggle for folks these days, and that we've been hearing from our colleagues, and that we've gone through ourselves too. And you and I have talked about this, that you've seen the same thing. And really, our goal is to just kind of help each other and help our folks in Ignite to, you know, get our clients to have a more aligned mindset for their healing and the results that they get. And just have a more of that mind-body awareness. So Gray was telling me some stories yesterday and some really cool insights he's had over the years. And he wanted to share some of his thoughts on that with you guys too.
Thanks, Lydia. So yeah, I'd say probably one of my biggest frustrations is seeing new graduates struggle to launch, kind of that failure to launch syndrome. But it's all over the board because, I've seen NTPs out of class, and oh gosh, I was talking to an NTP who's a group leader in my wife's class, and she started a practice before she even graduated. She's a single mom, and she said like she had no choice, and she just did it. She had a vision of what she wanted her practice to be like, and she just went for it. And before she even graduated, that may actually be a little bit too soon, she was had a client base and was making a decent income, and then it only got better from there. And then you see other people who are immensely qualified, like a lot of times it's the best students, and they graduate and they go, well, I can't start yet, I'm not ready, I have to do this first, I have to do that first, or I don't know quite enough, I need one more class. And that's always my message to my students, and my message to all of you, and my message to all NTPs is that if you've graduated, you are qualified, you have the power and the knowledge to help every single person that comes to you. You may not be able to you don't know everything. There's certainly going to be some challenges, but you can make a huge difference in everybody's life with what you know. You don't need to know anything else. Of course, it's just natural. All of us in nutrition, of course, we all end up taking additional courses and adding new tools to our toolbox, and that's good. But it should never be a reason not to start. And one of my favorite expressions is the universe rewards action. So just the act of starting is very, very, very important. And but having said that, of course, I think the NTA programs are fabulous. They are fabulous. And I think in terms of nutritional knowledge and having a good, solid procedure, there's nothing to be desired. But there is an aspect of it, that business aspect of it, the interpersonal interaction between you and your clients, really, it's not really part of the curriculum. I think all of us as instructors, that are myself now recently retired instructor, we talk to our students, particularly in the one-on-one sessions, about interaction between you and your clients. And I always do kind of mock-up report of findings, after our workshops and things like that, to kind of show them, I have them do it. And then of course, it's always they're always going things like, well, I've looked at all, gathered all this information, I've studied it, and I really think I can help you. I really think that I can do a program that'll make a difference. But there's none of the excitement, none of the certainty, none of the conviction that the client really needs to move forward. So developing the ability to connect with your client with this tremendous amount of conviction is really important. And I think that's why I am excited, Lydia, to participate in that, because I think it's so important. And I think what you and Nancy are doing is really the kind of, for many, many people, it really is the missing step. If I was going to say, you do need to take one more class before you start, it would probably be your class, because it's not a nutrition class. It's how do you connect with the client, and how do you help them over their obstacles, because they've got a lifetime of practicing not doing what they know they should do in terms of diet, nutrition, and lifestyle. And you really need to have that ability to move them beyond, their obstacles, and give them a clear vision of where you're taking them, your shared vision, and why they want to go there. Why do people want to be healthy? There's always a why. And if you don't have that why with your client, you're missing a very, very powerful element. Right.
Yeah. It's so huge. It's because, and we talked about this, gosh, in our webinar, and Megan shared, and you and I had a conversation about, dialing into an individual's vision and their why behind what they really want versus, us looking at the knack and giving them advice and seeing what they need, but really connecting to their want. Like you were telling me that story about the guy who wants to just bowl with his friends.
Right. You can't tell different things are important to different people. You ask anybody, well, would you like to be more healthy? They go, sure. Well, are you willing to make major changes in your diet and take some supplements to do that? And they go, I don't know, I might be able to, I could probably make some changes and stuff like that, but because they don't connect their health to the things that are really important in their life. And that was, I remember my mentor, the guy who taught me so much about what I know about nutrition and about patient client management and stuff. He told me about a client patient he had. He's a doctor, so he had patients, and he said this guy was not particularly motivated. He said he came in, he wanted to get healthy. He was getting nutrition and chiropractic care, and when he asked the guy, and the guy wasn't complying, he said, "Why? What's going on here? You said you wanted to get healthy." And he goes, "Well, I do, you know." I said, "Well, why do you want to be healthy? You don't seem that motivated." And he said, "Well, he kind of questioned him back, you know, to what was really important to him. And what was really important to him was he was getting ready to retire, and he'd looked forward all of his life to having time to do more bowling, you know, go around the country and get together with his friends and go on bowling tournaments and stuff like that. But because of his health problems, he was afraid he wouldn't be able to bowl because he was starting to have some arthritic problems, and you know, he was overweight and stuff like that. And so when he really determined that, he said that was the guy's driving force, and said, well, look, you can do this or not do this, but if you want to bowl with your friends, if you want to be bowling 10 years from now and be a better bowler than you are today, you know, we can do that together. But you have to, you know, be willing to make these changes. And he says, oh God, if I have to do it to bowl, people won't do it just to be healthier, but to do it so that he could go bowling, you know, into the future. You know, that was motivating to him. And I know my personal story, yeah, I think I was kind of blessed with pretty good health. I was an athlete in college, and, you know, I considered myself in good shape. And, you know, what I believe mistakenly, what many people believe, is that, you know, I could do anything as long as I'd go out and run 5 miles every day. That would kind of like reset, you know, drink too much and, you know, eat French fries and bad food and, you know, even other things I'm not even willing to admit on camera and stuff. But you know, next day I get up and run 5 miles. I'm going, okay, well, I paid back that. You know, that's not true. If you have poor nutrition, exercise actually can hurt you. And so my why was, when my wife got pregnant, I was 40 years old when she got pregnant. I was 41 years old when my son was born. And really, all those years of abuse and kind of a genetic propensity on top of that, and I had diagnosable heart disease. You know, so to have heart disease and have a baby at the same time, to be diagnosed, you know, with heart disease, and have, you know, being expecting your child. And so, you know, I was the most motivated guy in the world, not because it was important. Before, it was like, well, you know, you should eat this way and you should do this so that you'll be healthy. But well, you know, well, hell, you know, we have a great lifestyle and we really have fun. Who wants to live forever anyway? But once my son was coming along, then everything changed, because I really had a vision that I wanted to be there for him, you know, and that's what motivated me. I would not to be healthy, but to be there for my son. That gave me the power to make all the changes. I didn't make them all at once. It's like nobody does, you know, because it's still kind of incremental. But to set down that direction, that hallway of life idea, you know, because I wanted to be there to see my son grow up. So it's cool, because now he is grown up and I'm here.
Yeah. And isn't that when you said you started the NTA Journey too?
Yeah. Well, I started as a nutritional consultant for a major supplement company on my 41st birthday. So it's always easy to keep track of how long I've been doing it, because I've just turned 67. So I've got 26 years under my belt. And it was shortly, you know, after I started that my previous career, I had a 5-year break where I was just messing around with boats and stuff. But I had a very serious career out of college till I was 35. And it was in the map business of all things. I was a cartographer, and I would be out visiting schools talking maps. We did a lot of different kinds of maps, but school maps was kind of my thing. I really loved it. And so I was in a lot of classes, and a lot of 4th grade classes, a lot of middle schools. And even then, you know, I observed that the kids didn't look to me like the kids looked when I was in middle school. I mean, they were more obese, that their acne was even worse than ours was. And they just looked, you know, ragged and stuff. And I was thinking, well, maybe I just don't remember. but that was one full kind of generations of little Pottinger's people down the road. And so this is the same time, of course, now I've got my son and stuff. And so it was very obvious to me that we were, as a society, going down this path that was not a great place to, not a great path. We were going the way of the Pottinger's cats. And that, since that was 25 years ago, it's worse now because there's a whole nother generation of little Pottinger's people running out there that, you know, I can do an hour on just talking about that, but I'm not going to. But so it really gave me kind of purpose to make a change. And I always said to myself, someday I'm going to start a new profession, and I'm going to call it, you know, this, and what it's going to be like holistic dietitians. That's a little bit of an oxymoron because, you know, there's nothing less holistic than a dietitian, unless they're holistic. There are, you know, we have
one.
One of my most favorite students of all times is a registered dietitian who came through the NTP course, and she's part of a group of dietitians who are trying to move that organization, you know, back to at least a sane place in terms of nutritional recommendations. So I'm not putting down that nobody goes into nutrition because they want to serve toxic meals to school children, serve horribly unhealthy food to people in hospitals that are trying to recover. That's not their vision, you know. Right. Nobody really goes into nutrition, as far as I can tell, because they think they can get rich. You know, they do it because they're nurturing. You know, they're caring, nurturing people. They want to help people, and so it's just very sad to me that people get in a track that, you know, is basically, you know, controlled by big food and big pharmacy and big ag. You know, that actually teaches them to have people eat wrong. But, you know, that's another tangent. But it does, the way I'm going to bring it back to what we're talking about is that, you know, the paradigm, the prevailing paradigm is huge, and it's very well financed. You know, billions and billions and billions of dollars going into processed food and bad agriculture, and, you know, the drugs that then are necessary to basically almost all the drugs sold in America are just basically to compensate for the symptoms that are created by bad diet. You know, so it's all crazy, but it's paradigm changing is hard, and so, you know, that's my big idea. My big purpose is to be a catalyst, along with you, Lydia, Nancy, and all the other thousands of NTPs that are making a difference, to change the paradigm. And so we can't have this failure to launch syndrome. You know, when people want to do this, we need to. And that now, you know, it's kind of towards the end of my career, but you're just, you know, still, you know, headed for your apex, pass the baton. We need to empower people to, you know, to be successful and change the paradigm. You know. And, of course, there's so much positive stuff going on now, you know, with NTS. It's so many. I mean, to me, my biggest joy is to see, no pun intended, is to see the power, the young. Well, I don't want to be sexist here and say that it's just all about women, you know, because obviously men can be successful in this too. But let's face it, you know, this is a profession that's dominated by women and led by women now, you know. And of course, you know, to give credit to people like myself and Dusty Lapp and John Jennis, you know, I mean, we're formidable players in the thing too, but 95% of all NTPs or more are women. And so, but it gives me kind of great joy to see, you know, the powerful women that are coming out of this movement that are, you know, being engaged in so many different ways to move us forward and to help change this paradigm. And so I definitely include you and many others, you know, in that group. And you know, so I really applaud what you're doing. And I think, you know, it's always, you know, people have, you know, they've spent a lot of money and they spend a lot of time getting certified, and I really believe that they can go out and do it. But I think I think it'll really help get a lot of people, get them off the mark. It'll create that action that the universe will then reward, and it'll give them the confidence and the conviction, you know, to be powerful. And no, I mean, there's I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. You just dialed really powerfully into the whole vision aspect of, you know, our vision as NTPs, right? We had our vision and reason for doing this, and now we get to show up for our clients and help them do the same thing for their health and their life, really, right?
Right.
And so that's what we start, our program with, and we use it throughout to bring them back and bring them back and bring them back if we need to, to bring them back to that vision, those goals, and connect everything we do with them to that, which is really powerful. Yeah, so I appreciate you giving your story and your vision, and that nudge really to just, guys, if you are struggling to go forward, we want to empower you, and that's part of why we created this. So I appreciate you. That was one of our big things in the program. And we have, too, like mindset, is a big thing too. So just talking a little bit more about, like, I think, and you told me a really cool story, maybe we can do the short version, of really helping people get the right mindset around healing and actually invested in the process. Because, anybody could see, I've had people just sign up with me in my early years, and I had no problem going out there and just doing this and figuring this out and learning along the way. And let me tell you, sometimes I was like, oh, this sucks. But I kept going. And part of what sucked was that I didn't know how to help them get into their mindset and ask the right questions. And so I was just giving advice. I was just giving, here, you need to do this diet, and then I'm going to read your food journal and make sure you do it. And then, here's your supplements. And then they come back and they didn't do anything. And they feel all guilty and shameful and kind of like little sheepish, and maybe like you're going to slap them on the wrist. And I was like, okay, this isn't how I would respond to this type of, care or investment or health practice with somebody, So over the years, I realized there's got to be something in the gap here. And it's definitely connected to how we show up and how we guide them and how we help them with the mindset along the way. And, Gray and I were having a conversation about this, and you had some cool insight on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, if you're not having fun and you're not really enjoying your practice, you're not doing it right. And if you're not having fun, then your clients aren't going to be having fun. I mean, it really is that relationship between a practitioner and their client. It's a shared experience, And so what makes it fun is to get results. I mean, this is the most wonderful job in the world. When you get compliance and you get results, and people love you for that. But it is, you have to find that place that motivates them. And one of the things I always talk to my students about too was, what is it that clients are really looking for in a practitioner? What is any client or any patient of any healthcare practitioner looking for? They're really only looking for two things. There's only two things that really make a difference. That every successful practitioner has these two things, and without these two things, it's very hard to be successful. And those two things are caring and conviction. And the nice thing about starting out with the NTPs and NTCs is that this is kind of the most caring group of people in the world, that I've never met an NTP or an NTC that didn't have a caring nature. So maybe that's why we have so many more women than men. Women tend to be, there's a lot of caring men. I'm almost over empathetic, in my sense of caring. But all NTPs, men, women, young, old, what they all share in common is that they care. So that's not a big obstacle to get clients, because you're already all caring. So the next thing is conviction. So if you don't have conviction about what you're doing, if you don't really believe that you can help your clients, then they won't come to you. And if they do come to you, you'll have a hard time holding them. And so that's what I see. Of course, I haven't taken your program, but I've watched your last live webinar with Nancy, and I watched that one that you did with one of your students, Megan, I think it was, Megan, and stuff like that. And that's what I see that you're doing, is that you're giving them the conviction. You're not teaching them anymore about nutrition. They've got that. you're taking them how to take that and have conviction about it and how to use it in a way that conveys that conviction to your client. So I'll tell a story. It actually seems a little bit unkind, but I think it's a good example. So here's what I observed for years and years. I was out in the field with first standard process and then biotics, and I was visiting doctors' offices, and so I got to see, when I started, I was in the offices of some amazing practitioners that had these dream practices, and when you really looked at these people all had tremendous sense of caring, a tremendous sense of self-confidence. And I remember once there was this very, very successful chiropractor, but he basically was a nutritional therapist. He did an energetic technique, but he had a waiting list practice, weeks. At one time, his waiting list was up to 2 months. And he called me. He said, "Gosh, I'm really concerned." I said, "I don't know what's going on out there. Just not getting the clients like I used to." And I said, "Well, gosh, your numbers still look good." He said, "Well, I know, but my waiting list is down to 2 weeks." Was making him nervous, So wouldn't y'all like to just have not be even be able to get people in for 2 weeks because you're already so busy? And he'd see, his visits were like under 10 minutes, so he was seeing a lot of people. But he had a friend that who was struggling, and he wasn't successful, and he got him to come to the seminar for this particular technique. And then so I went. My job was to go out and visit people after they come to these seminars and see what they needed. Kind of in some ways, I was doing what you were doing. I would coach them on their practice management and get them motivated and troubleshoot, why they were failing to launch, And so I went to this one doctor and I said, "Gosh, you've come to the seminar. You seem to know the basic technique pretty well. What's going on?" He said, "I don't know." He said, I just don't get any clients, they just don't seem interested in getting nutrition from me. I go, Dr. Parley's just, he's 3 miles from here and he's got a waiting list, months and stuff. And it's the same technique. So why is he able to do this and you're not?" He goes, "I don't know." They go, "Well, let me ask you, how are you doing on your program? I know at the seminar, Dr. B put you on a program." He goes, "Oh, I'm not much of a pill taker, He said, "I just don't really like taking that many supplements." And he said, I want to do the technique, but he said, I don't really want to take all those pills myself." And I went, well, that was it. He didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of being successful because he lacked conviction about it. You can't do it yourself. Dr. Parley, he'd take handfuls of supplements, and he loved the work, and he was a living example of course he did it. He believed in it, so it was that conviction. And then also he had he had developed this very strong ability to communicate, with his clients in a very succinct way that would kind of ensure them that they were going to get better, and and he, like many successful doctors, he ascertained at the beginning, why they wanted to get better, what was their driving motivation. And so,
yeah.
So here's another story about conviction. This is the one that's not that kind. Down in California, she was a naturopath, that not from an accredited school. She really didn't have good skill set, and she didn't have good knowledge. She'd come to this seminar, and this weekend, this particular reflex was the doctor that was teaching it. He had found this new reflex. It was called the toxic gut reflex, and it was right below the xiphoid process. And if people had this reflex, he put them on a huge protocol of digestive support, with hydrochloric acid and beet juice supplements and okra and things like that, all those kind of healing things and stuff. And so she came back from the seminar and she was on fire. And I could tell, because I watch her numbers, and so she's having these fabulous numbers. And so I went out there and I go, "Gosh, I guess you really liked the work, And she said, "Oh yeah." She said, "This is fabulous." She said, "But I don't know why he teaches all those different reflexes." She said, "Everybody that comes in here has the same reflex. They all have the toxic gut reflex." So this system had a whole series of reflexes that you're supposed to go through this whole pattern and stuff like that. This sounds a little derogatory towards muscle testing. You have to be really careful with energetic testing, that you know what you're testing, because there's a thing called surrogate testing where you can actually test somebody else with somebody else, or you can test yourself on somebody else. So basically what she was doing, everybody that came in, she obviously had this toxic gut syndrome. She was very distended, and she didn't look healthy at all, but she had a tremendous sense of caring. She was a very caring person, and she had unbelievable conviction, she just, particularly with this reflex. And so everybody that came in, she tested them, and they all had the same thing. She put them all in the same protocol, and they all got better because it was digestion, So if you got people that aren't well, and all you do is fix their digestion, and particularly with a very aggressive protocol, they're going to get better, feel better, and be better just by fixing their digestion. It's not that hard. But she was completely incompetent as a practitioner, but she was still successful. She was still lining them up outside the door, and they were still getting better because she had those two elements. She had caring and conviction, and also was very good at the practice management part of it, of connecting with the patients and helping to communicate them, what she could do for them. So here's what I know. Every nutritional therapist in the world knows 10 times as much as that doctor did. And so she was able to be successful with one reflex, that they probably didn't even have, because she did it with caring and conviction. So it's a huge part of it. And so,
yeah. So when you really are able to, like Nancy and I say this, and I think it was one of my coaches said, you really can only take people as far as you're willing to go yourself.
Right.
And it's true, like you can do a lot, even if you're still needing to grow. And so you're not gonna start out over here. You're gonna start here, and you're gonna get in the trenches and do it and learn along the way.
Yeah.
And if you can't get in the trenches and do it, how are you going to overcome your own obstacles to becoming a more successful practitioner, to getting the people that you want to get every month? And, so overcoming your obstacles as a practitioner of like not stepping out, not taking that leap, not getting yourself out there, letting the fear hold you back is huge. And so we do the very same thing I'm sorry, I keep calling it Ignite, and Balance and Thrive, which is our program that we are enrolling for right now, and we've been talking about all week. We take our clients through their obstacles. It's just a normal part of life for anything. Anytime you want to do something that's meaningful, or anytime you want to grow, or anytime you want to, change something or move forward or whatever it is, you're going to have obstacles. It's just the plain truth. And so the fact that we can say, oh, okay, I have an obstacle here. Let's see it for what it is. And let's look at it and let's shine the light on it and have a moment to okay, I have this obstacle. I wonder, why it keeps coming up. What can I do about it? And that has been huge for even for myself, watching my clients do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, so much more dialed into my own daily obstacles. Yeah. But yet to take people through that and just allow them to feel safe and have no guilt around it, just because it's normal. Mm-hmm. And there's so much relief around that when you're working with people, because it's so much easier. It's so much lighter, and it feels very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of fun when we can help people dial into the reality that, moving forward can be kind of clunky and crazy and uncomfortable. And so I like that you brought that up, because I feel like it definitely ties into the fact that what we see in the gap is that, if you're just going by diet and protocol and not addressing this, you're going to have non-compliance, right? And then you can get into the mode of well, what am I doing wrong? Or I'm not good at this, or my client is annoying. But,
sometimes they just are annoying, but no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So it's cool to hear the stories too, because, you've seen it and we see it. And now we're really helping our practitioners to add this in. And it's such a game changer. And Megan talked about it yesterday. So if you guys are watching at some point and you haven't watched Megan's video, go watch it, because it's really, really good. Okay, cool. So that's actually one of our big pillars in the program, is overcoming the obstacles.
Right. I think one of the big things I think that people should, instead of fearing obstacles, there's this I'm going to slightly modify a saying that I have, and that's every obstacle is actually an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Every adversity is an opportunity, but you know, to a degree, obstacles are kind of that's their adversities. So if you take an obstacle and then say, instead of saying, "Oh God, you know, they're not complying because of it," and take that as an opportunity to get more information about them, to you know, peel back a layer, and then to move them forward.
Mm-hmm.
Then it kind of makes it fun, you know.
Yeah, because you're meeting them where they're at, and you're helping them work through it, and not having an expectation that they can't live up to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very it has a good flow when we can dial into that part, right? So I also want to talk a little bit about helping our clients connect to and listen to their body cues and feedback, and just really learn to kind of respect food even. And because, you know, we learned such amazing truths about food, and it's so vast and in depth and incredible. And sometimes we want to just like regurgitate information because we love it and it's amazing. But it can be overwhelming for our clients, right? It's like, oh my gosh, you just told me like 50 things. And I'm like, no, I didn't even hear that margarine was bad or whatever, you know? And so, you know, it's really powerful when we get to teach them these food truths, you know, about real food, but it's also really cool to be able to help them connect to, you know, when they're eating, how they're feeling, are they satisfied? Are they hungry? Or do they enjoy the food they're eating? Are they full? And just really connecting a lot of what you taught us in NTA, even with relaxing and chewing, versus so much focus on just food, where it feels overwhelming. And so I'm just curious if you have any tips or thoughts on that, or you've seen that be an issue for people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody's kind of got the concept that if they're going to be healthy, they're going to have to eat foods they don't like and that aren't going to taste good. You know, I think, well, you know, for years, you know, I mean, like if you were going on a diet, you were eating these like rice cakes and, raw foods that, you know, weren't necessarily appealing and things like that. And so I think one of the great joys for me is this idea that eating healthy food is so much more wonderful than eating junk. You know, that, all those years I was on the road, you know, I mean, I used to go by McDonald's and there'd be a big sign up. At that time, it said over 2 billion served, you know, and I'd go by and I'd go, I wonder who ate the other billion, you know, because I had eaten so many, you know, Egg McMuffins and junk like that. And I thought it tasted good, you know, but when I got my diet, I used to like the fillet of fish sandwiches. I thought those were delicious. And I walking into McDonald's, I thought I liked that. I even liked that smell. That's just because I was so out of whack. And then when I got my diet straightened out, when I really learned to appreciate nutrient dense whole foods, you know, I mean, the only reason I really go into a McDonald's now is because I need to use the restroom. You know, if I'm on the freeway, it's the only legitimate reason they have to exist now. It's a place you can go to the bathroom. You know, it's relative. They're not even that clean anymore. But now when I go in, the smell of that rancid grease is it's disgusting. It almost makes you nauseous, you know, to smell it, because your body's now conditioned to enjoy real food. And I love to eat. And lucky for me, you know, my wife's a really excellent cook, and, you know, we have some good restaurants that we go to and things like that where we can get nutritious and healthy food. And the whole food experience, eating healthy, nutritious food, is a wonderful thing. It's not a sacrifice at all. It's eating crap that's a sacrifice. You know, you just don't know. People don't know it. You know, I mean, do French fries really taste good? Hell no, not really. Just stop and just like eat a French fry. All you're trying to do is get that grease fix, you know, because you're so fatty acid deficient that you think a French fry tastes good. If you think a French fry tastes good, you're fatty acid deficient. That's a therapeutic indicator, you know. So so I think that really getting people back to the idea that healthy is delicious, and that they can eat a nutrient-dense whole food diet and enjoy every single day of it. Every single meal can be a treat, you know, without having to like plaster themselves with sugar and sweet stuff to kind of compensate for, their lack of ability to appreciate their food. So I think, teaching people that, I think it's really important. That's one thing as we, further the NTA course is the idea to really learn to appreciate healthy food, because it really is so much better. It's just better every way, so.
Yeah.
Maybe I got a little off topic there, but the mind body thing, it really is important, it's not just eating the food, but it's being with the food, appreciating the food, smelling the food, tasting the food. We all know how important that is with the lingual neural testing and everything, and making every meal kind of a celebration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. You're cracking me up over there. So the last thing I guess I want to talk about, and then we can open up for questions. We've got a bunch of folks on. Thanks guys for joining us. And really this is the crux of it all, is that really truly working on health is a personal journey. It's like a personal growth experience. And so, trying to create change and just apply information without addressing the whole person, and their desires, it can be difficult, and it can cause some challenges. So this is like huge, a big part of our focus, and what we do through the program is help you get your client dialed in to their whole life and their whole body and their emotions even too. And so, I know over the years you've definitely seen that show up with the work that you've done, even with your own clients. But do you have any stories about that?
Oh God. Yeah, I'm trying to bring one succinct one to mind. That I can't. There's not one that pops up immediately, on that exact subject. But I will say that I've had the opportunity to coach so many people to be, have me take so many people through the process and watch the kind of amazing change that does take place with people when they start eating right, when they start appreciating their food, and the kind of the transformation that takes place. And it really is, the whole mind body thing is kind of a circle. Like you can't be really healthy in your mind unless you have the proper nutrients, and you can't really appreciate the nutrients until your mind's right. So, oh God, just yesterday I was talking to a young lady who's interested in taking the class, and she's 21 years old. She was a waitress. I went out. My wife kicked me out of the house last night because she was taking her NTC final. So I go down to Water Street and have a good meal. They got some really healthy things down there. And she was telling me her journey. So of course I, big talker that I am, I told her, yeah, my wife kicked me out of the house because she's taking a test for this nutrition class she's taking. And she goes, oh, I love nutrition. And she told me her story. She at 12 years old, she was on medications for depression and anxiety at 12 years old. And, that went on until she was like 16 or 17. And then she herself started exploring food and found out that, sugar wasn't a good food. She was, like many people that age, just a complete sugar addict. So she quit eating sugar. She got completely sore off sugar, and, then she got some good counseling, but mostly she was self-taught. And now she was completely over on our side, and she wanted to, be a nutritionist. She wanted to help other people because it had so utterly transformed, her life, just getting on a whole food diet and getting away from the sugar, So yeah, it doesn't, really the truth of the matter is, I don't want to overplay this idea, but the truth of the matter is, even small changes for most people will make profound differences.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can make these small changes that make these profound and then keep adding to them, incrementally, that's when you get, really true kind of, transformation.
Yeah.
And I know that with me, when Dr. Curry got hold of me, what do you think he did? He palpated that, Riddler reflex for digestion, and he did Murphy sign, and he did Chapman Reflex, and he did associate. He was a muscle tester, so he would muscle test them also. And he just started me off on digestion, and it really was, really I felt pretty good, but I was, 41 years old. I was getting a little dragged out. My energy was down, and I really, men are funny. Like we don't really, never willing to accept that we have bad digestion, horrible and terrible flatulence, but don't really relate that might not be a good thing. So you put me on hydrochloric acid supplementation and sent me out and some, beet juice products, get my gallbladder going. And my wife was like the happiest person in the world because I had this kind of horrible, almost mind-numbing flatulence. Of course, guys, we're proud of it. Say we are, but anyway, that all went away, and she was so happy. So I went back to Dr. Curry, and he goes, "Well, how's it going?" I go, "Well, God, amazing thing. I don't really have the gas that I used to have and stuff like that." And he said, "Well, that's good because your reflex is gone, and this is improving and that's improving." And he said, "You don't even need hydrochloric testing, but you don't need hydrochloric acid anymore." I go, "No, just keep taking it, because it's just been so great. Why would I want to quit taking it?" And he goes, "No, you don't understand. This is therapeutic nutrition. You don't just take it because it did something for you once. You take it because there was an indication." And so he took me off of that, but then he moved me one more step down the deal, started dealing with my adrenal issues, which were huge at that time. Started working on my adrenals, and so this idea of incremental, and of course I changed my diet. So that idea of incremental health and improvement, and how it changes your not only do you feel better, but it changes your mindset. I mean, I went from having a marginal interest in nutrition to becoming a complete and total zealot, because I want everybody else to kind of share the experience that I had, the kind of the joy and that kind of that freedom from the nightmare of yet, that whole idea that everybody's out there afraid, that they're going to get it, and not knowing what to do about it, to empower people to take control back and to give them a vision of wellness and to march them off in that direction. It's just so cool.
Yeah, and like you said, I think sometimes we hold ourselves back from moving forward because we think we have to know everything there is to know about everything. And really, it's the smallest things sometimes that can make the biggest difference for our clients. And sometimes it's not even the food first. Sometimes it's Lydia was sharing a story. It was pretty cool. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying this, is that she was having trouble getting someone to do the diet stuff or even invest money, but she knew that was just an excuse. And she said, "Okay, well, why don't you just say, do something in your journal every day that you're thankful for? Just write a couple things, whatever comes to mind, just practice that and just, have that positive mindset." And, she said a couple weeks later, she came back to her and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you saved my life. Like, I'm doing so much better." And it was just from this one simple thing, so, and then the beautiful thing about that is that we can then we have more ability to build even more because they're really like invested in the process. And so that's kind of how we created Balance and Thrive, is we created it so that you're always focusing on the positive first, and you're doing these incremental changes over time and just building on the next thing and building on the next thing. And it just works so well. It just works so well. So yeah, I like that story because we really underestimate the power of simple, small change sometimes.
That kind of leads us full circle back to where we started, is that what every NTP, every NTC should know is they know enough to make profound differences in the lives of everybody that comes into practice. I mean, I think United Healthcare said, like 5 or 6 years ago, they said that their estimate based on a study they did was that by 2020, which it practically is, that 50% of the people in America would be diabetic or pre-diabetic. So there's 330 million people in America. So that's 165 million people out there. There's only like 5,000 of us NTPs. So there's 165 million people who desperately need these principles that we have, just addressing their sugar handling and their digestion. Even if if you didn't do all the foundations, if you just address their sugar handling issues and their digestion, you'll change their life. Just like that poor young girl, got 12 years old on antidepressive medications because she was eating sugar. People don't know. So we have this powerful message, and you don't need to be, you don't need a PhD in nutrition to be powerful. Well, so that reminds me of one more story.
Okay.
Here's a story. It was about that, because when I first started teaching, I was I loved the material, but I didn't have a lot of confidence. And to tell you the truth, I was kind of public speaking phobic. I was used to making presentations, and I always defined that as like 5 people or less. It was just a presentation, but if it was like more than 5 people, but certainly more than 10 people, it would make me nervous, So when Dr. Curry got me doing these things that eventually became the foundations of nutritional therapy, and then the foundations of functional nutrition, and then the NTA courses, they all had their roots here. I had these little 2-hour courses on digestion, blood sugar, minerals, fatty acids, et cetera, et cetera. And my job would be to go out and get doctors I'd find a doctor who was really interested, and I'd say, well, look, if we can get 4 or 5 of your friends, your doctor buddies in the area, I'll do this really cool lunchtime series, and I'll bring a fabulous lunch. And I was always real dedicated to having a good lunch, because I figured if they didn't like my talk, that if the lunch was adequate, they would have a good lunch and keep coming back, So I remember it was like the second series I started, and the doctors are coming in. I think there was like 9 or 10 of them. And this one doctor came up to me, and I'm introducing myself, and he's Dr. So-and-so. And I said, oh, so are you interested in nutrition? He goes, yes. As a matter of fact, he said, I'm a diplomate in chiropractic nutrition. So this meant that he'd spent hundreds and hundreds of hours studying nutrition. And he obviously would then have to know way more about nutrition than me. And I could just feel my self-confidence is draining out of myself, going, oh, I'm way over my head. I mean, I'm about a year and a half into the game, so I knew a lot, but nothing like a diplomate in chiropractic nutrition. And so I asked him the question. I said, oh, God, that's great. I said, so you must do a lot of nutrition in your practice. And he goes, no, actually, I don't. He said, I know all this about nutrition, but I never really figured a way to apply it in my practice. And then all of a sudden, my spirit came back, my confidence came back, because I knew that what I could teach him, he could go use in his practice immediately to have immediate results. So he had all this theoretical basis, he knew all these pathways, and he knew about what every nutrient did and stuff, but he didn't have a practical way to apply it. And as a result of that, he didn't really have confidence. So, he took this course, from me, really a newbie at the whole thing at that point, but with these powerful concepts that I'd learned from Dr. Curry, with these simple concepts, he was able to do way more in his practice and help more people than with all of those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of studying he did to get his diplomate, a certificate and stuff. So believe me, when I tell you, all NTPs, all NTCs, what I was able to teach people in that little 5-part 2-hour series that they found to be very useful and to be able to make changes in their practice. They all already had practices, so they weren't starting from scratch. But what you all know is way beyond that. And when it really comes down to it, the important stuff, you get in the first of every module, it's the big ideas. If you just master the big ideas, then you just that. Even if you forget all of the physiology and anatomy, if you just know the big ideas and then know how to apply it in a practical way, overcome those obstacles and connect with your patients and develop that conviction, then you're going to be successful, So I'm so glad, Lydia, you and Nancy are doing what you're doing. I think it's such a gift to people to have a resource like you two to kind of guide them through that process and, kind of get their nutritional mojo going up, making a difference.
Yeah.
It was really fun watching Megan, because you could tell, when she started talking about it, she'd just light up. And I would say that I think a lot of times people think, well, yeah, it's easy for Lydia Joy, or Nancy. I mean, look at them, they're these attractive, kind of powerful women and stuff like that. But there's lots of people with different looks, different ages, that can be just as successful. It's because it's not really about the appearances. Of course, it helps. I think it helps to look healthy, be healthy, and stuff like that. But it's really about conviction and caring. If you got conviction and caring, I've known a lot of nutritionists who were really quite overweight and they were still powerful. They were on their own journey. They had their own struggles, and actually they would use that to their like everybody's on a health journey. In that hallway of life, we never get to perfect wellness. So me too. And I'm sure you two also. We're still going someplace. We share that experience with our clients that we're striving to be healthier than we used to be.
Yep. Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about what the Balance and Thrive program is, but before I do, I want to give you guys a chance to comment below if you have questions or anything you want to hear more on. We'll take a few minutes, but we've talked a lot about confidence and clarity, overcoming obstacles, simple forward motion steps, really trying to empower you guys to get out there and practice. And one of the things sometimes can be just having that system, like you were saying, just having those practicals in place, having a system. And that's really our goal with Balance and Thrive, was to create this framework and include all those pieces. And so it's an 8-week done for you program that you as a practitioner get to also go through. And we think it's really powerful for you as a practitioner to do, because you get to kind of experience your own vision, your own obstacles, learn how to overcome self-sabotage. Honestly, you guys, I still am like making connections to food and still reminding myself, slow down, you're horking your food, and all this stuff. And it's not something we just, because we know the intellectual piece of it, that we've mastered entirely. And it certainly can help you as a practitioner to go through the process, so that when you take your clients through the process, it's like that much more powerful. So we are starting next Monday, and it's 8 weeks, and we're releasing the content at the beginning of the week, one module at a time, and it's like a week worth of content that you can take your client through. We shared the session structure with you guys. Last week, Ray shared that. So if you didn't get that, that's what we do with every client. We take them through the session structure. We wrap it around the NutriQ, because we know you guys all have the NutriQ. And we know that, it's a really powerful tool to use to take people through and dial back into kind of later on in the program. We give an anti-inflammatory diet, but it works with any diet you want to work with your client. So it's very flexible, but it gives you like this powerful framework. And then we have a Q&A every week. We have a Facebook group, and our Facebook group is awesome. If you guys are here watching this and you're in there, say hi, comment about our awesome group, and just really going through this together with others, and really dialing into the whole body approach in a framework that just makes it fun and easy. And Megan talked about that yesterday. You just get to show up to your sessions, and it's so easy and powerful. So we created this to really make it a lot more fun, a lot more easy, give you more confidence, clarity, and so much more. So it's a really powerful program. I think the link is above me right now, www.balance-thrive.com. You can go check it out. And something really cool that you guys want to know is that Gray has offered to do one of our trainings in the program. So he's going to be sharing even more in the program with you guys too. So, because he's really invested in you and seeing you succeed. And so, Nancy and I are too, and we're just like really want to empower you through this program for both yourself as a practitioner, and so you can show up really strong for your clients. And we gave Gray his own code today to share with you if you want to sign up and join us. We're starting Monday. So you can use Gray Rocks 50 if you go to the Balance and Thrive URL up above and join us. We have our alumni all in the group have shared, we're happy to talk to people if they want to talk to us about it. So we have very satisfied, happy participants that are just like dying to share more with you guys. So Megan, you know, yesterday was like, call me, email me. Andrea last week said the same. We have people who have enrolled who even want to talk to you. They haven't even done the program yet. So, you know, if you feel like you want to hear more from someone else, that's great. Go ahead, feel free to reach out. But today, we're giving you the Gray Rocks 50 code, and you can enroll right now. Join us. We're already letting people in our Facebook group. We start Monday, and I'm going to start taking questions if there are any. And Gray was telling me he wants to take the program too. Sarah Russell said, how often do you run it? We're currently running it this time now, and then we're planning on sometime in the year, but we don't have dates yet. Hi, Cece. I don't see any more questions. Do you have any last thoughts for folks before we wrap this up?
Well, the universe rewards action, so sign up. I really think that anybody that doesn't have their ultimate dream practice, which is everybody, would really get a benefit from the program. From what I know, like I don't have to take it to know that it's really, really useful. Just based on the research that I've done on it, I can strongly endorse it. So it helps fulfill our destiny, change the paradigm, and have fun doing it and make some money. All those things are important. Certainly I felt all of us are probably more than anything, we're purpose driven, but there's not any reason in the world you shouldn't be purpose driven, do wonderful things and have a totally decent or above decent income, to support yourself and your families and, live the other part of your life. So good luck. Let me know if it helped, if anybody signed up, because I came on here and for an hour solid. But sure, thanks, Lydia, for having me. I enjoy the opportunity to be able to reach out to our community, and I really do appreciate what you and Nancy are doing.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming alongside of us, and even just hanging out with the rest of us. And it's really powerful to just have you connect with everyone today. So I will answer, there's a couple more little administrative questions I'll answer in the comments below, you guys, if you're asking them. And thank you so much for your time today. We just appreciate you.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching.
Okay, see you later.
Bye guys.
Bye-bye.